All right, hello everybody, welcome back. We are in chapter 7, lesson 3. We are talking about Pythagorean Theorem. So previous lessons we kind of talked about different angles, types of angles, things of that nature, different relationships of the angles. Now we are moving on to a Pythagorean Theorem. All right, the last lesson, if I remember correctly, let's see, it was lesson 2. Okay, we talked about different triangles. We're still talking about triangles. It's just now we're talking about Pythagorean Theorem. Pythagorean Theorem only works or is valid for 90-degree triangles. Okay, so for example, 90-degree triangle, 90 degrees. This is 90 degrees. All right. The Pythagorean Theorem has to do with the sides. Okay, the lesson before we talked about the different degrees that are the angles. Now we're focusing on the sides. Okay, Pythagorean Theorem, okay, your textbook in 405 talks about different things, different terms. We need to know these terms. Okay, these are the legs of a 90-degree triangle, and then this is going to be your hypotenuse. And usually I do HYP to kind of abbreviate it, but for this purpose right now, I will spell it out. All right, so these are your two legs. The legs are the two sides that make the 90-degree angle. The hypotenuse is always, okay? Kind of get this now and learn this now. This will help you in geometry when you get there. But the angle across, the side across from the 90-degree angle, so directly across, is always going to be your hypotenuse. Okay, so those are some terms and things I'll be using. Legs, hypotenuse. This is a big one. Make sure you understand where that one is located on a triangle. Now, what we are going to be doing, and on page 406, okay, it talks about the Pythagorean Theorem. The Pythagorean Theorem describes the relationship between the lengths of the legs and the length of the hypotenuse for any right triangle. So again, leg, hypotenuse. The relationship between these are as follows. A and B. A and B are always legs. It does not matter if this is the A, this is the B, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. C is always your hypotenuse. Okay? The formula we're going to be using, and you might have heard this before, is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Now A and B are always your legs. You're squaring them and you're adding them together. So it doesn't matter which order they go in. If this is B, or if this is A, or this is B, or this is A. But C must always be on the equal side, on the other side of the equation. And so C squared is always going to be your hypotenuse. All right? If you can understand that, this lesson as a whole is not going to be too difficult. The only thing we're going to have difficulty on is the square roots and squaring things, but we'll work through those together now. All right, so let's jump into an example. I'm going to take this formula and I'm going to just kind of put it up here real quick for us to kind of remind us to have it here. If it helps on your homework, you put this somewhere in the corner so you always see it and have it. That's fine. If it even helps to kind of draw just a quick little thing here, then do that. A, B, C. Just to remind you, we can leave that here in the corner. All right. So first problem, let's kind of go. Let's get right to it. All right. 11, 7. All right. And the instructions on the homework are going to say find the missing length to the nearest tenth. Okay. So I'm going to write that up here. Tenth. Okay. Tenth is when you're dealing with decimals. All right. So it's going to be one decimal place in your final answer. And I'll show you what that means and how we get there. Actually, I take it back. What we're going to do, the instructions say that your answers are going to be tenths. I want us to leave them as, I want us to leave them as square roots. Okay. So I'm actually going to take the tenth off at the top. But I'll show you how to check your work because you're going to need to check your answers. If you still would like to put them as decimals, that's fine. But to check your answers on this homework, you have to put them, you have to check the decimals. But I'll show you how to do all that. I have a calculator here, I have a phone here to kind of show you the different ways. All right, so again, A and B, we do not know the third side. This is the side we're looking for, okay? They don't put a question mark, they don't even put a C, they don't do anything. This is how the homework shows you, but we know this is our C and we're trying to find what C equals. So we're gonna plug it into this equation. 11 will be my A, 11 squared plus 7 squared equals C squared, okay? So this is the equation that we're doing. Now, on your calculator, or if you know your squares, you square this. This is 121 plus 49 equals C squared. I need to see these steps. Now you add these two together. 670, I believe it's 170 equals C squared. This is the trickier part. You're going to have, you need to square root both sides, okay? To get rid of a squared, you must do the opposite. The opposite of a square is a square root. So we're actually going to be squaring both sides because you need C by itself. Okay, when you do that, these cross out, you're left with C equals square root of 170. You can stop there. Okay, I don't want to get too detailed. I'm not in the classroom with you guys. There's more to it than this. But if you want to check your answer with what is on the answer sheet, go ahead and take it, okay? I have a calculator here. This is the calculator I kind of suggested that we have and that we use in the classroom. So if you have one of these, then I'll show you exactly how to do that. So to find the square root of 170, okay? Let me see if I can focus in on my calculator. You're going to do second, okay? And your square root sign, if you look right, here's your squared. Right above it is a square root sign. So to get those little buttons that are on the actual calculator, you must use the second key. So when you do the second key, if you see right here above my finger, it says second right there. That tells you that it's like engaged, that you're using it. Then you go down here and you hit that and look at your screen, square root, okay? And then 170, you can close parentheses if you like, you don't have to. I usually do. Hit enter. There's the number that we're looking for, okay? 13.03. All right, so I'm gonna go back here and 13.03. But again, you need to be the 10th. I took it down. The 10th will just be 13. 13.0 because the first one is just a 03, so it's just a 0. So I know I went one way, I'm going back again. Sorry, I'm going back and forth. Let's leave these as decimals, okay? You can put a 0.0. Let's not do this. Let's use the calculator, okay? The next example, I'm going to show you how to do it from your phone. If some of you forgot your calculator, don't have a calculator, which we should have. 99% of calculators you guys own are going to have some sort of a square root sign. Now, where it's at, I don't know, but I can show you how to do this one. This is the one that we required and recommended that you have for my class. And then one of the reasons is because I work this one, I know this one. So for example, times like this, I can do a video on this one. But if you don't have this kind, you're gonna have to find other ways, whether YouTube videos, ask a parent, a friend, a sibling, try to figure it out, okay? If you have to, reach out to me. I can try to see if I can work with you and figure it out. Let's do another one. So, let's go with 3 and 5, okay? So again, A and B, it doesn't matter which one's which, okay? One of these is A, one of these is B. We're gonna go to this one for A this time. So I'm gonna write it over here. 5 squared plus 3 squared equals C. This is one we don't know. We're gonna call it C squared. 5 squared is 25 plus 3 squared is 9 equals C squared. 25 plus 9 is 34 equals C squared. Now real quick, you might say, well, I don't understand why we have to square both sides. We're solving for C, we need to get rid of the squared. To neutralize that square, you square root both sides. I'm gonna show you over here really quick what that means. let's say, for example, we know that 3 times 3 equals 9. So 3 squared equals 9. If I were to square root both sides, the square root of 3, sorry, the square root of 9 is 3. And then look what happens when you take that away. 3 equals 3. The square and the square root neutralize each other and kind of take it away. If you were to square root this and square root this, square root is just taking one of these numbers away. So you're just left with 3 equals the square root of 9, which is 3. So 3 equals 3. If I kind of talk to you in a circle there and you're confused on it, find a YouTube video. I'll see if I can find one and maybe post it for you guys to kind of help you kind of understand that. But to neutralize or to get rid of a squared, you need to do the square root of it, okay? So the square root of c squared is just c. Square root of 34, we need to find out. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to show you guys on your phones how to do square roots. So if you open up a calculator, okay, this is an iPhone. I'm sure Androids and things are similar, similar methods. All right, there's no square root on here, but if you didn't know this, you turn it sideways, and when you tilt it up, it turns into a scientific calculator. All right, a scientific calculator. There we go. I'm waiting for it to focus. Scientific calculator that has a square root, and of course now I cannot find it. I don't use this. Okay, so your square root, there's your square root right there. It has a little 2 on it. So you're going to put your number. This is going to be backwards. You need to put your number first and then hit your square root button. Where the other calculator, you had to do square root first. So you just have to kind of get to know yours. So down here, it was a square root of 34. So going back here, 34 square root, and it's going to be 5.83. Now we want to the 10th. So it's not 5.83, it's 5.8, okay? And just to kind of confirm that we did that right, which I know we did, we're gonna go ahead and do it on this just to kind of show you over here, okay? So second square root 34 equals 5.83, which again, once you simplify it, 5.8. All right. Now that is how you do the problems where they give you the legs and you're trying to find the hypotenuse. There are problems where they're going to give you the hypotenuse and one leg and you're trying to find the other. Let's work on those now. Those are the 2 kind of problems you're going to see in this lesson. So I want to make sure we're prepared for all of those. Let's do a triangle. Let's do an upside down one this time. Let's go crazy, have fun. All right. So let's go 10, and we'll do 12, okay? We don't know this one here. You cannot assume it's 11. You have to show your work. You have to find out what it is. It's not always just going to be a number that's in between or above or below. You just have to find out what it is, because it could be, like we've seen so far, it could be decimals. So we don't know this one. You can call it A or B. It doesn't really matter which one. I'm just gonna call it A. So we're looking for A. So we need to plug it in where it's A squared plus B squared. This is my other leg, 10 squared equals my hypotenuse. Now remember, your hypotenuse is always across from your 90-degree angle. So this one is our C. Let me get the 12 out of here so it's not. Okay, so A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Now we're gonna go ahead and square all of them. Oops, equals. Okay, now we need to get A squared by itself because we're trying to solve for A. We must move the 100 over. This is like solving equations, okay? So how do you move it over? You don't just add it or just bring it over. You need to do the inverse operation. Subtract 100. This goes away. We now have A squared equals, when you subtract these, it leaves you with 44. Okay. making sure. Okay. Now what we need to down do is find out, we have a squared and we have a 44. We need to get rid of that squared. Again, like I said, by square rooting both sides. The squared goes away. The squared and the square root cancel out. You have a equals square root of 44. Put that in your calculator. And again, with all these, make sure you're doing it right by checking your answers in the back. Okay? So, going back to the phone here. All right. So to do this, it's the square root of 44. So you need 44. And then you don't have to say hit second or anything. It's right here, right above my finger. It's like it has a square root sign, but it has a 2 in front of it. Okay, there's a cube root. That's a 3 in front of it. But we're not doing that one. Okay, so hit the one with the 2 in front. And it shows 6.63. Okay, 6.63 rounded to the nearest tenth is 6.6. Okay, this should be our answer. Let's confirm it with the other calculator. You don't have to do this. I'm just showing you 2 different kind of calculator methods here. Second square root 44. Enter. Look at that. If it will focus. There we go. 6.63, which is also 6.6. All right. We'll do one more of these, and then we'll call it for the lesson. So again, you have to look and every single time figure out, do I know the legs? Do I know the hypotenuse? What am I looking for? How do I set this up? Kind of really have to evaluate it every single time. Let's do one of these where it lays down like this. Okay. 90 degrees. Well, that's 90 degree-ish. It's fine. 7. No, no. I didn't want to do that. Let's put the 21 on this side. 21. Okay, so we know one leg, so we know an A or a B, and we know the hypotenuse. Remember, the hypotenuse is it's the side across from the 90 degree angle. Look over here to help remind you, okay? So we know a C. We don't know this one. You can call it A, you can call it B, I don't know. I'll call it B this time, it doesn't really matter. 7 squared plus B squared equals 21 squared. I'm just plugging it into the formula up here. 49 plus B squared equals 21 squared. This is where a calculator comes in handy. Now on here, when you're squaring a number, you can just do 21 times 21, or there's a little x squared right here. You can put that. If you see it puts a little 2 on it, hit enter, 441. Okay, or like I said, you could put in 21 times 21. It's up to you. All right, now solve this equation to get B by itself. Subtract 49, subtract 49. These cancel out. You now have B squared equals, that's 11, so that's a 2. And then 3, and we got to carry again. Oh man, this is fun. Trying to do this in my head is not fun. We should have 392. You can do a quick check on that by adding 49 to it, and we do. Okay, so we're good. So that's what we have. Now, again, square root both sides. It gets rid of that. We now have B equals square root of 392. Okay, but we need that as a decimal, rounded to the nearest tenth. I'm going to do both calculator methods. All right. Taking the phone, 392, and we're going to square root it, 19.79. So 19.79, well, 79 rounds up to 80, so that's 19.8, and I'm going to double check it. There we go, and let's find out if that's right. Let's go back over here, and we're doing square root, second square root, 392 equals, look at that, 19.79. So 19.79 rounds up to 19.8. That's our final answer for that one. I hope this makes sense for you. If not, you need to reach out. Can't wait to talk to you guys again soon, and enjoy the lesson, and I'll talk to you later.